We live in a world now where every penny that you earn, you want to get the most out of. So if you spend 20 quid, that's your hard-earned money. You've got 20 quid and you spend that on heating. The reality is, if you don't insulate your house, you don't keep the heat on the inside, you might as well rip that up and send a tenner up through the roof of your house and out into space. This is the stuff that I've learned. So if you're going to spend 20 quid on heating, you want to get the most out of that. You want 20 quid's worth of benefit from that. When you heat up some air, so let's say this air here, and it's a fairly cold day, you could take that bit of air and you could weigh it, believe it or not. It has a mass. And when you heat it up, the little molecules that you can't see start bouncing around, and it gets lighter, because there are less of them, they're all bouncing around, there are less of them in that size there. So what actually happens, that heat rises, and that's why it rises, because it's lighter. So it'll head up there, to the top of my house. And I've paid for that heat, because that cost me there, let's say that's a quid's worth of heat there. I want to benefit from that. I want my kids to be warm from that. So what do I want to do? I want to keep it in my house. Now, if you let it out of your house, you need to keep heating up new air all the time, burning more fossil fuels or whatever it happens to be, increasing my carbon footprint, which is precisely what I do not want to do. I want to get the most out of that heat, so I want to keep it inside my house. If I compare it to a leaking boat, or compare it to a kettle, if you leave the lid off your kettle, it keeps boiling forever and ever. It never reaches that temperature. It doesn't trip the thermostat, so it just keeps boiling. But when you put the lid down, what happens then? It goes, ooh, I'm warm, I'll trip, I'll turn off. And it's exactly the same with this particular spray foam. By insulating with an open cell, breathable spray foam makes absolute common sense. Breathable in terms of the air does pass through it passes through more slowly, so it can take moisture away. But I want it to seal, and that's what this stuff does. That's the bottom line. So let's discuss the two different sorts of spray foam that are available to you, or to me. You've got closed cell and you've got open cell. Now don't be particularly baffled, it's actually quite a simple thing. The closed cell basically contains a gas, and it's the same stuff that insulation board is made of. Now, open cell is the one I'm having put in my house here, and in fact, it's kind of a bold thing to say, but I wouldn't put a closed cell in my house. I wouldn't put an insulation board in there. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to compare it to a boat. Let's say that you and I are on a boat, and the boat's leaking. We're going from here to America, but the boat's leaking. What do? Well, there are 10 leaks in this boat. Do you patch up 9 of them, leave 1, and then sink slowly? Or do you patch up all of them and just get to America? Well, that's what I would recommend that we do, and that's precisely what I want to do here, because that is my boat, and that's what I live in, and I care about the heat that I actually create in that building. I want to get the most out of it. So if I spend 20 quid on heating up this section of air here, well, that's my heat. I've paid for that with my very own money. I want to get the most out of it. I don't want to allow it to leak out of the boat. So I want to keep it inside the boat. Now, that's an upside down boat. In fact, the hull is the roof of that thing. One of the key points of choosing a company to install this stuff is to make sure they've got installers who know what they're doing. I think it's one of those things that, like with a car, if you've got an engine that wants to go into a car, if it's done by professionals, it can go in and work perfectly. The same engine can be put in by people that don't know what they're doing and get it wrong, and your car will never drive right. And I think it's exactly the same with this stuff. So the LogicFoam, as far as I'm concerned, is the right product. These guys, I think they know what they're doing. They do an inspection of your house before they come in, they inspect the roof, they see what they're dealing with, and they give you a 25-year warranty. That's the thing. So I think the problem is not with the product, it never has been. The problem is with the installation, and if it's done right, there are no problems at all. Because what matters to me is keeping my bills down, and more importantly, drawing less fossil fuels, or wherever they come from the power stations over there, because I don't want to be that house that just gets through so much energy and heat loss through the roof. So that's my decision, and I've made it. And I couldn't care less what anyone else says around here or anyone on the planet. I believe that I'm doing the right thing, and I defy anyone to prove me wrong. Bring it on. In fact, let's get on with it.